All right. So the audio should be working now. If you guys can hear us, just let us know in the chat. Come on.
Still nothing? Dave still got nothing?
Shoot. The audio should be working now. If you guys can hear us, just let us know in the chat. Okay.
Dave?
All right. Okay, we're good.
Okay, we're good.
There's just a delay there.
That's a significant delay.
Yeah, it's about 10 seconds.
Hey.
Hey, we're live.
Hey, you.
Yeah?
We're working.
You're up and going?
Yeah.
I was having a nap.
Sorry.
Hi, folks. Sorry. Technical difficulties.
My God.
So everything is good, Frick? We're ready?
I guess so, yeah.
Wait, Dave's saying no. Dave, what are you saying no about? Did we cut out there?
I'm getting loud and clear.
What?
Yeah, it's working.
So it is or it isn't?
Yeah, it is. As far as yeah.
Okay. Can I start?
Yeah.
Welcome, folks. This is our 21st. Frick?
Yes.
Our 21st live, that wasn't just a regular cough. Our 21st live YouTube workshop. And we're going to do these every weekend until this virus leaves us alone. So tonight we are part 2 on building Angie's bed desk, sorry. And if you remember, I hate to have to remind you, I screwed up on one of the dovetails on the end of our last episode. So I just, before we started, got the new one done. So we're ready to go from there. This is our fundraiser for the Purple Heart Project. And I'm going to have Danny Bell come on about 30 minutes or so from now, and he's going to introduce it. Last week we had Jeff introduce it, so I thought, why not have one of these guys that has actually participated in the program? In addition to that, oh, wait a minute. Sorry. Hold over from us trying to get it to work. Okay, Super Dave. So anyway, if you have questions, Super Dave is on, Luther's on, Ken's on. Anybody else that are going to be answering the questions for us? And before I get started, I want to give a shout out to a Navy vet from Vietnam back in Jake. I apologize, Jake. I got to check this again, make sure I don't want to get this wrong. Ozzy's a friend of Jake's. Jake was in our class last year, and the two of them have been working on dovetails together. In fact, I wish we could post a picture. Jake taught him how to cut dovetails, and he posted his first picture of the first one he did, and it was awesome. But I don't know. I have no idea how we can get it up on there. But Ozzy, I tip my hat to you, brother. Thank you for your service. 3 years in the Navy, Vietnam era. And if any other vets are out there tonight that have been in our class, please say something so I can give you a shout out and we can acknowledge you're there. All right. Anything else? Well, I'll stop and take a break halfway through, and we'll talk about whatever other stuff we need to bring up. Now, I'm going to go over to the table saw, and I'm going to put my rabbit on there, since we kind of did this backwards. If you remember, I was initially going to put the tails on the top piece and the pins on the bottom, and I ended up turning it around. So you can do this with a table saw almost as easy as you can with a skew block plane. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my sleeve over there so that I cover part of the blade. And one of the advantages of this, we could do it one of two ways. you could bring the blade over, or bring the fence over, so that you're however far away, or you're cutting into your board as much as you want to cut your rabbit. The problem with doing it like this is if you slip and you come out this way, obviously you can't go any farther that way, you're going to cut in more farther into your board than you want to. So the advantage to having this sleeve on is going to allow me to cover as much of the blade as I want to. And if anything, you're going to leave a bump, which you can go back and then take off afterward. And if you're unsure of what I'm talking about, I'll show you. So we got to get our height right. I'm going to cover up part of the blade. And this is going to allow me to check. Okay, I don't need a rabbit that deep. So I'll cover up a little bit more. That's too high. Now we've got to make sure we do the inside. I'm just checking to make sure that's not up too far. This is the inside. This is the part that's going to get cut. Bring it up a little bit. Okay, that's close enough. I'll go in there and clean that up with the marking gauge. Now, I got to get rid of that fuzz on the back side. If I don't, it's going to hold my board away from laying perfectly flat up against that fence. Rex, would you do me a favor, please? Go in and grab me a copy of the new video. That's my son Rex, who's been home.
Dad, there's one over there.
From Nova Scotia because of this situation. Thank you. But he's in construction. It's deemed essential, so he's going back tomorrow and go back to work on Monday. Stop for a word from our sponsor. So if you have been waiting for our DVD on building this Cosman bench, the one that you can do in a weekend, yesterday, we released the DVD as well as the on demand, and it is a 3-disc. That's not. That's the fake one. That was the one we had to use for a promo. It's a 3-disc, 4.5 hours. 4.5 hours of me and Luther. That'll help you get to sleep. And then 1 disc is just a data disc. Now, can you explain to me what's on that?
It's just the 2 files. It's the cut list and it's the plans.
So the cutting list
PDF plans.
and the PDF plans, which are 2-dimensional. Okay, so that comes with it. You can also purchase 3-dimensional plans that will work on SketchUp, and they are available as well. And, word to the wise, if you're all excited now, thank you, Rex. If you're all excited and you're going to want to build this, you're going to have a couple of things. You're going to have bench dogs. You're going to have a vise. The whole idea is the bench is literally something to put the vise on. And we just got a shipment of both in yesterday. They are almost gone. I had no idea there was a huge demand for this, but pent-up demand. So if you, and here's the problem. Those vices are made in Sweden. And I have no idea what the production capabilities are going to be like with this flu epidemic. So nobody can tell me when we're going to be able to get another shipment. So there are some left. I don't know how many, but I know there are some. So here's the, there it is. So these are dual layer discs, and then this is the one that has the bench plans. And remember, you can get it on demand as well, which is instant. Okay, so.
So we have a question.
What?
Oh, go on.
Question? You have
It's
a question?
No, we have a question. On
Dave is talking to him in his ear to ask the questions, but Luther's answering some as well.
No, okay.
Did Luther answer the one about the tenon and dovetail saw?
Yes, he did.
Okay. The other thing, we're getting a bunch of these made too. Remember those casters that we had beefed up so that they would withstand the weight of the bench? Don't forget to order those as well. And then you got just about everything you need except for some nuts and bolts. Okay, so we have our rabbit in place. What?
You need screws to build the bench.
Screws to build the bench?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
To put the top together, you need screws.
Oh, yes. Yes. Right. Yes. That's the Lutheran method of putting that top together without clamps. And you're going to need a bunch of screws. Yeah, you're going to have to watch the video in order to actually get that. But, I mean, you can get it at hardware. And washers. Now, I already planed this, right? I did. So I want to determine which side I want to have up. I got a little bit of pitch going here and here. Got a little bit of a knot right there. There's no visible pitch. Not that that's a big issue. On this side. A little bit of a scar right there, but that'll probably come off. And the knot comes to the front there. And that'll go underneath our little piece that's going to prevent things from sliding off. So I think we'll make this the outside. So I'm going to set my marking gauge to the thickness of the tailboard at the rabbet. Now, if you've cut dovetails before and you set your marking gauge to the thickness of your piece, and then when you're done, you end up having the ends of your tails or your pins sticking up a whole lot higher than you should have. It's simply because if you set your marking gauge out here, when you account for the rabbet, your pins are going to stick up by that much more up above here. So you want to be dead nuts, just go in here and measure right from the end of the board where the rabbet is. Now, this is the pin board, so we only have marking gauge line on the faces, not on the edges. Did you want to be on the, well, you're loud enough. Chloe? It's been a family day.
Tell them who that was.
That was Chloe and my wife.
Oh. Who's Chloe?
Who's Chloe? Chloe, she's my youngest. Hardest worker in the family. So you guys that have been buying these screws, child labor laws have kicked in. They're the ones that have been packaging them up. They weigh them and package them up. And when the two older boys, Bo and Mitch, buzz off, Chloe's still there working. Well, how late last night? I gave her a $20 tip last night because I went out there at 11 o'clock, 11:30, and there she is still working away. Mother trained her.
That was the first time she had been paid.
That's what?
That was the first time she had been paid.
Yeah, I told her she owed me $19.87 change, but I never got that. Chloe, don't forget my change. From the 20. Chloe's homeschooled. She thinks she runs the place. Okay, so this is our bottom. This is our bottom. Set this on. Nice thing about this type of bench is that if there's any cup in the board, it pulls it nice and flat. Now, we need dovetail marking knife. Well, you're going to have a little bit of, you've got a little bit of cup in this, see? If you sight down there. But the nice thing about this is the dovetail will pull all that out. You don't have to worry. Now, let me just talk to you a little bit about wood science for a second. So cup, which is movement across the width of the board, the grain runs this way. Cup is going to result from moisture coming off more from one side than the other and whatever. But you can control that. You can flatten that out. That's not hard. And a dovetail, the nice thing about a dovetail, I'll show it to you later over there. But nice thing about a dovetail, here's a drawer, thin drawer side, dovetail here, dovetail there, makes this extremely strong and will prevent any cupping of this board. What you can't control or stop is you cannot stop expansion, seasonal expansion this way. The board will split, something will let go. So one you can control, the other one you can't. Now,
I was pointing out that don't you want that to be laying flat so it doesn't move?
Oh, mother. How did we end up doing this? You know what we did wrong? I did wrong.
I like this we.
Well, we're all in it together. We were thinking the tails were going to go on here. So this piece could have been narrower. Anyway, I gotta go cut another piece real fast. Look at that. We're way out there. Boys, oh boys.
You mean the top, the desk part needs to be longer,
The
wider?
desk piece needs to be wider. Fortunately, I got some wood and I got some tools and I can fix it. So that desk, the top of this desk needs to be 10 and 9/16 to be safe. Now I got to go process that real fast. I got some right here. I just milled it up. With the chop saw. Just let me make sure I got my width here. We don't have it there. Whew, got it there. Always buy more wood than you need. I wonder why. This is a good idea, whoever put that. What's our length, Jake? (16 by 10 and 9/16). Now, I want to stay away from that knot, and I prefer to stay back in here as far as I can. There's no defects to worry about beyond that. So what I'll do is cut. I go right there. Make sure I can get my 16. Oh, I got lots. So I'm going to come away from this. Anytime you have a knot or anything like that, the grain's going to get a little bit squirrely. You see that stuff right there? How rough that is compared to over here? So I want to get away from that. Hi? What's the matter? That's 17, but I'll give myself a little extra. In fact, I'm going to come right up close to that knot. And then I have some options. This is one reason why, as a woodworker, I never made any money. How do you factor in what's inevitable, which is a screw up once in a while? And that all has to go into the bid. Rex, I need to jump in there. Seven and a half horsepower should not bog down on a piece of pine. Huh? Who are you talking to me or are you talking to Super Dave? We went through the hassle of changing out that motor, getting different pulleys, the whole bit, and it didn't do much. I'm flipping it each time. Take material, same material off both sides, hopefully. Okay, that's close. Rex, give me back that piece of wood, would you please, so I can make sure I copy it. Now, I'm going to stay away from here. I'm going to take this, I'm going to go take my 10 and whatever over from this side.
Did you happen to talk about what we're giving away this evening
Oh,
for the draw?
no, forgot. I also want to talk about the award.
We can do that later.
So tonight, oh yeah, I got, well, our difficult start threw me off.
Yeah, it did.
So tonight we are going to draw for a mini dovetail kit. That'll be a dovetail saw, a marking gauge, a dovetail marking knife, and a dovetail marker. What's the value of that? $250, $350.
What makes
For-
it 350?
Huh?
What makes it up to 350?
Marking gauge?
It's 130.
No, Cosmanized.
That's 75.
So $400. And
Yeah.
we should give away some copies of the DVD as well. The new one, signed by Luther.
3 copies?
3 copies.
3 short.
With the SketchUp plans?
Oh yeah, load her up, boys, load her up. And so we do this so that we can bring in donations for our Purple Heart Project, where we bring combat wounded veterans in. You're going to hear from one of them tonight. So please be generous. You have been. You've been fantastic. Incredible the response that we get. These guys deserve it. It's our job to help them. So,
Are we done?
huh? No,
Are you ripping?
no, I got to go over and rip and cross cut. I'm sitting here looking at it and thinking I don't want to screw this up again. So let's make sure we have enough material. Okay, go over and rip that. I got some stuff going on there. I should probably make another pass. And then what I'll do is I'll square up this end. It's the better of the two. Flip the board over. Pull it away from the fence. Cut my chamfer. Now, I got a nasty nick. Look how bad that is. See that? I don't know what I hit. I suspect, and this is the reason why I usually tell people, I said when you're dealing with rough lumber, use your scrub plane to get rid of that rough exterior before you get started, because rough lumber sitting outside in the drying process is going to have wind-blown dirt, and then you end up hitting it with your plane blade. And if you don't believe wind-blown dirt, that's how on the side of a mountain where there is no place to plant a seed, you'll see trees growing because a little bit of wind-blown dirt. There's a big nick right there. Enough wind-blown dirt over the years accumulated there to support vegetation. So, I'll tell you a quick little story while I'm doing this. Back in 2008, Frick said we should do a YouTube video of me cutting a really fast dovetail. So we did. Didn't think much of it. Actually, did it more in response to Frank Claus, who had recently done one where he cut what he called a paint grade dovetail. So we did one. And it took off. A lot of people watched it. I remember sending a link to Popular Woodworking. Chris Schwartz is an acquaintance of mine. I said, you might want to send this out. People might be interested in watching it. Anyway, so that began our YouTube career. It really didn't go very far for a long time. And then Frick took over managing it. So, Frick, focus on him while I'm doing this. You can take over from there, Frick. Tell them how that comes about.
So we finally received in the mail this week our plaque from YouTube, presented to RobCosman.com for surpassing 100,000 subscribers. So it took us a while, but exciting nonetheless. 100,000 subscribers is quite a bit for the type of business we're in. So we're glad to all of our subscribers, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so.
We just crossed 110,000 today.
That's right. So we're well on our way to our
Now the next plaque you get is when?
1 million subscribers. So
Jake will be here doing these with his son, filming, grandkids running around. And I'll be in the grave. Hopefully it'll come sooner than that. All right. Downward pressure in one corner, followed by the other. You think a million is a lot, but thought 100,000 was a lot. We were sitting at 16 or 17,000, and then what's his name, Jake?
Shop built?
Yeah, Shop Built. Remember his name? Haven't seen him since. Anyway, another YouTuber who has, I don't know, 70 or 80,000 subscribers at the time. I'm looking for a piece of paper towel if anybody can help me out. Contacted me. He didn't realize we only lived about 10 miles away and wanted to come up and collaborate. So we did. He came up to shop, and thank you. And we did a YouTube video. I showed him how to cut dovetails. And he put that on his channel. And right away, our subscriber base jumped up to 50,000. And then I guess you get to a certain point where enough people are watching it and sharing it that it starts to grow exponentially. So we crossed 100,000 right at just after Christmas. I'm just checking to see if that Nick's gone. Speaking of Nick, where is he? Is he on there?
I haven't seen him yet. He's social distancing, so he's not here.
It's not social distancing. What do we call it?
I don't
Canada's changed the terms. No longer social distancing. It's physical distancing.
know. Oh.
You can have friends, you just have to shout at them from across the yard. Anyway. The only downside to pine is it has so much, they're so susceptible to static. And this stuff has a lot of resonance. And I don't mind that because I don't know whether it doesn't make it any harder, but there's something about it. It certainly has a lovely aroma. All right, I'm just eyeballing that and getting it parallel to the sole. Now we can go in.
Oh, Ken just told me that Nick is on. Sorry.
Nick is on?
Yeah.
Who told you?
Ken.
Oh,
is here.
Ken.
Yeah.
Ken Anthony. Ken is Angie's cousin. I spent the day putting finish on, shoot, I didn't get rid of it all the way, on shooting boards that Ken's been making. Okay. So now we'll go over and we'll cut that at 16. I gotta hurry up. Should be able to just honor that same mark. Bobbert is on. Bobbert! In case you're not feeling loved, we all love you up here. Bobbert, affectionately known as Bob, is one of our combat wounded vets that came. There's an organization, Luther maybe will kick in Virginia, that every time we host the program, they sponsor a vet. And Bob was one of the ones that they sponsored. Bob was intelligence, Air
He
Force.
has nothing to do with intelligence.
Yeah, he's not here to defend himself. But Dave will defend him.
I was actually referencing.
Huh?
I was referencing a show.
I know you were.
Oh, okay.
All right, I'll do it the safe way. Anytime you have more surface area here than you do here, you should support your work somehow. But I'm going to hold the miter gauge, or hold the board against there, then line the miter gauge up, and then cut it. Now this is a rip blade, which most people wouldn't think to use cross-cutting, but I like it. Slow down at the end just so I don't tear a big piece off. And I don't have the Jake's zero clearance in there. When can we bring Danny on?
Well,
Because I can be catching up like this while Danny's talking. Can you get him? Is he ready?
yeah, you're not going to come around and talk to him. You just want me to.
Yeah, I'm going to come over here and introduce him. So, if you see this patch behind me, underneath Angie, she watches over him. This is Planer's Edge in Clarksville, Tennessee. So, Danny Bell. Pardon?
That's his YouTube.
That's
channel.
his YouTube. Danny Bell started a business. Well, actually, first of all, Danny is a helicopter pilot. He flies Chinooks. And if you're not military, Chinook is a big helicopter that has 2 rotors, troop transport. I can't remember how many years. He'll tell you. Anyway, Danny applied. Here's a good lesson for those of you combat wounded guys who have applied or thinking about applying. If you don't get accepted the first time, it just may be that you maybe you didn't write your story well enough, didn't give enough details. Remember, we don't know you prior to you coming to the class. Or maybe you just happened to be applying at a time when there was a lot of guys that were really bad off. So this was Danny's second time for applying when we accepted him. And Dan came, and we became good friends really quick. In fact, Super Dave and Jake and I went down in January to Clarksville to help Danny kick off his business. He's set up to sell lumber and woodworking supplies. He's going to be carrying planes as well. And also he's going to have a classroom where he can do classes. And he's also going to be a focal point, or not a focal point, but a rallying point for Purple Heart Project. So we went down.
Oh, sorry.
What?
Keep going. I'm working this out.
And he had 32 combat wounded vets there for us to demonstrate for on that Saturday. He went and he found a local barbecue joint that provided all the food for us. It was fantastic. And Super Dave and his cat, just like that, were buddies. In fact, is there anything we should add to that the cat didn't already? Anyway, so I told Dan, I said, we will come back every year. If you're going to put this kind of effort into helping other vets, we will come back every year and support you and do the same thing. So I asked Dan if he would come on tonight and if he would explain from his perspective the value of the Purple Heart Project to these combat wounded veterans so that you guys can make a connection with the program you're supporting and also be inspired to not only support it more, but also to go out there and spread the word so we can find these guys who otherwise we wouldn't reach. So are we ready?
No.
We're not ready.
No. Just keep going. I'll figure it
So
out.
all that build up, got right to the, and
Well.
then crashed. Well, so that's Danny as soon as we find him and we bring him on. In the meantime, I will go in and I'm only going to plane one side because we'll plane the other side, the other face, after we've assembled. We have to clean it up anyway. Jake, there was something else I wanted to, I want to do this while we're talking to Danny. So follow me over here. We enjoy doing it, so it's not like it was any big deal for us to do it. But we decided that we would film a YouTube video every day just to give people that are stuck at home something to view. And it's a great way to connect to you guys. So we've done several on, how many did we do on the bandsaw?
6 or 7.
I've been doing this literally all my life. When I was a little kid, before I was going to school, I was in my father's shop wrecking stuff. And so I've been around this stuff all of my life. I've probably developed some bad habits, but I know a fair bit about it. And I've spent time with some of the best woodworkers in the world. Alan Peters, Peter Korn, Silas Kaufman, Roe Robinson, Tay Frid. These are the guys that wrote all the books. And you pick up something from every one of them. So what we decided to do, without any real format, is to go through and just tell you everything I know about particular machines. So we did 5 or 6 episodes on bandsaws, and then we started in on the table saw. We just posted one this morning. But, and people have been very gracious and said, thank you, Rob, we appreciate this. It's nice to be able to have something to look at every day. And I'm sure they're not talking about me. But here's something for you. If you don't know about this, we have and have had since 2011 an online workshop. And Jake and I started this. Actually, it was a friend of ours, John, from New York, that said, Rob, you should be doing this. So Frick, who's the tech-savvy guy, tells me that the bandwidth, whatever that means, had grown to the point where we were able to do this. We started teaching people how to woodwork virtually. So when we first started, which was in July of 2011, we started the hand tool workshop where we would build a piece of furniture from scratch with just hand tools. We filmed twice a week, so 2 half-hour episodes. We did that from from July until January, and I realized, I said, these people are trying to build this stuff at home on a shop mate or something else. Anyway, I knew they needed a bench. You're not going to be able to bench with hand tools, so we decided to start the hand tool power tool combinations. We actually had 2 different workshops. We used to broadcast 5 episodes a week, half-hour episode every week, 52 weeks a year. Now we've had to cut it back because of our travel schedule, but now we do 3 45-minute episodes. So if you come over here, tell me when you're ready to go, Frick.
Yeah. Rex has to go get something at my house, so it'll be a little while.
Yeah, okay.
Barb is on.
Barb? Oh, Barb. So Barb Hendricks is our angel in West Virginia. She she doesn't mind taking calls from me on a Thursday night at 9 o'clock. She helps us out in so many ways, and Her husband was a Vietnam vet, and I'm almost positive about that. So she has a soft spot for combat wounded vets. So I told her about tonight, so that's why she's on here. So Barb, thank you. This was the very first project that we ever did. This was a candle box made out of pine. Started as rough lumber, processed it all by hand. When I say no power tools, I mean no power tools. Hand planes, saws, chisels. So it has half-blind dovetails, front and back, of course. A groove cut using our little drawer bottom plane. A sliding lid. And I just, rather than having it boring and flat, it's sculpted, but we did that with the scrub plane. And there you go, a little candle box. And then from there, we moved on to more difficult projects. In fact, we probably jumped a little bit too quick. What was our second? Our second project was a hall table. It's actually sitting out front. And then our next project was a bookcase, and it had through wedge tenons in it. It had shiplap backs. It had all kinds of stuff. It was complicated. Anyway, so what I want to do, so here's what I'm telling you. If you're really looking for something to do, we currently have on that site in excess of 2,000 episodes from previous projects. By the way, you can stand right here and see several of them. So my main bench was one of them. This tool cabinet is an ongoing one. Started off as a prototype. We've been working with it. And once we were settled on what we liked, then we build the actual thing. So the first two sections, starting on my right, the right section and the middle section have been partially completed. If you look over here, this, what? No, not yet. Oh, yeah. The clamp rack, the mobile clamp rack made out of bird's eye and mahogany. That was one of the projects. Upper cabinets, upper kitchen cabinet, well, whatever, cabinets, and that's why the door hasn't finished, because I showed them how to do, in fact, interestingly enough, we decided to show them several different types of doors. So this door was a, you might call it an open mortise and tenon. So it's...
Isn't that a bridal joint?
Yeah, something like that. Can't remember the names. This one was a miter reinforced with 2 splines.
It still is, right?
Yeah. Both have flat panels. This one was the complicated one. So this door is a solid panel, and it has through wedge tenons. Now, in case you're not sure what you're looking at, this piece called the stile has a square rectangular hole cut in it. It's called a mortise. Only the mortise, if you were to look at it through there, it's sloped like this. So it's narrower at this end than it is at this end. This piece is called the rail. So the rail, this is part of the rail out here, has a tenon on the end of it. Prior to assembly, you make a cut in that tenon, and then you cut, the dark part right here is a walnut wedge. You cut a walnut wedge that is essentially the shape of the gap that needs to be filled, and the gap is the part between the tenon that comes through and the sloping ends that we've cut. And then when you glue it and put it all together, it's solid as a rock. So I wouldn't want to have to do a kitchen with all doors like this, because it would take forever and a day. And then this one was done with coped with a standard coping set that you buy, match cutters. You know, you can buy them on the shaper. Well, here it is right here. I'm hoping some people don't know what I'm talking about, so that this is not just, this is somewhat new. So you put that in your router, and that cuts one profile, and then this cuts the mating profile. So that's how you end up with this shape right here, and then the opposite is on this one. And that is a solid panel. So because this one was going to be the same as that one, I didn't finish it, and of course I haven't had time to finish it. Then we did the base cabinets and another one. So drawers on both ends, and because we did the drawers on that end, the drawers on this end have yet to be finished. I think that's all okay. Anyway, so what I want to do is I want to introduce you to our current project. If you're interested in becoming a member, your membership can be either monthly or yearly. I think it's discounted if you do the yearly thing. And when you become a member, you have access to all of those previous episodes that has everything I know on there and more. And we did one episode where we took a Wood River number 5.5. I think there's 3 or 4 or 5 episodes where we souped it up and made it an even better machine. So this is quickly becoming one of my It's in my top 2 favorites. So this is a standing desk. Now, if you were to think about a lumber yard 50 years ago, the guy that would be running the shack that controlled the distribution of the lumber to retail customers would spend his day going out into the yard. I know this because we used to have a lumber yard just down the street, and that's where I got all my wood. He'd be going out into the yard, and he'd help people pick what they want, and then he'd come back into the shack, and he'd have to write up the bill, and they'd sign it and pay for it, and then he'd be out the door again. So rather than have a desk that he's getting up and out of all the time, he had a standing desk. So this is built out of cherry with holly accents. So just look at the bottom section first. This is still in progress, by the way. Oh, actually, I have to back up a little bit. Let's come over here. The first thing we did, when I started off my career as a furniture maker, I was not good at drawing. I could barely draw my name. So what I would do is I would build a scale model, quarter scale, maybe smaller. And that scale model you could